So let's start with Pearl. Pearl Gluck, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and your filmmaking?
Why are we starting with me?
Because you're right here.
Okay. First, I just want to say thank you for doing this. That is a super scary thing to show a work in progress, and I want to thank you all for being the first audience to see it. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm a first-generation American. My grandparents, anyone above a certain age in my family, were all survivors of the Holocaust, and a lot of us kind of dealt with all these stories in different ways. I was raised very, very Orthodox Hasidic, and I left when I was 15 and sought a college education. And I teach here at Penn State. I teach filmmaking, and a lot of my work deals with women, faith. I tend to write characters I'm a little bit jealous of, and I wish I could understand in myself better, like women who have faith or people of faith. I always wonder about that. And this particular film was sitting with me for a very long time because I knew about the history of American soldiers that had come in to liberate in 1945. And some of them fell in love, and I did some research in the local area, and turns out some of them brought back their loves. And I think out of fear, a lot of people hid the fact that they were Jewish. They were scared things might happen to their families here, even though they had a ton of support. And then when I found out about the Day of Tolerance out here in in Aaronsburg, where there was this coming together of all the different faiths and coming together of people right here in central Pennsylvania looking at what it means to be tolerant. It was a beautiful, beautiful day and a very gorgeous piece of central Pennsylvania history. I wondered about a character who still didn't feel safe enough even after coming to an event like that. So that's why I wrote the character. I also met a lot of townspeople in Osceola Mills and talked a lot about how they always have to fight the influx of movements that have money, but they don't believe in them. And that's what happens in main streets that don't have the support that it needs from the government, let's just call it what it is. So this was my activism, was through this story, and this will be turned into a feature film at some point, but we wanted to do a proof of concept locally, and a lot of people on this stage and in the audience, I think, and in this town made this possible.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. So Kelly, you had our educational piece, so I just wanted to say personally, getting to know you a little bit beforehand also, how important that is, especially for our creative community. We know creatives especially, sometimes we struggle in these ways and we don't talk about it. So thank you so much for presenting that for us, and please share your background and your inspiration.
Yeah, so actually I graduated from Bellefonte, and then I was a Penn State dropout that joined the Filmmakers circus out in California, and I worked out there for several years and became very interested in mental health at that point. And so I became a therapist, and I work for Penn State now at the Penn State Psychological Clinic. I do clinical training. I wear many, many hats, but I've never, gave up on how much I love film. Film meant so much to me, and it had such an impact on comedy and just my own mental health. So finding a way to kind of incorporate my two passions of, I would say mental health, but outreach, education, especially psychoeducation, and using the art of film and entertainment. If you do end up watching more of my series, I try to use a lot of comedy. I tend to have a little bit of a funny bone myself, so I like to make people laugh, and I like to laugh. And we tend to also think about information, and it sits with us more deeply if we can relate to it. I'm just here doing things that I'm passionate about, and in whatever way I have time. I have a 3-month-old, and I made this when my son was 2. So this has been, just a joy project, and I'm glad to present it here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. Next up, we've got Bryan. Bryan, thanks so much for sharing your productions with us. We really enjoyed seeing the sports aspect, being able to see that presented here in film too, but you also do short films and are award-winning too. So to share a little bit about your background and your passion for film.
Sure. First off, thanks so much for putting this all together, Casey. This is great to get to see some of this stuff on the big screen. Is awesome, especially just everything being so local. So I went to Penn State film major, and then I hard pivot out of film entirely for a while, and then came back into television, and I've been in television news for the past about 15 years. And so my my background is primarily in editing. That's mostly what I do. But recently, since moving back here to Center County, I've been able to sort of branch out and do more work, freelancing and short films and stuff like that. It's been great working among other community members here. But so background in television, doing editing. That's kind of how I got into the sports stuff, doing all that. You know, I did a lot of that for in Pittsburgh where I lived previously, and so getting to get out in the community and sort of shoot events out here has been a lot of fun. And then I had, as you mentioned, a film. I think it was probably last year at the Center Film Festival in the Made for PA, the Made in PA category. About a local boy who was a dancer and all the challenges he overcame. He's now teaching dance. He also goes to Penn State, but great story. There's information about it in the lobby. But yeah, so just happy to be involved in the community.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing that with us too. Next up, we got Matt. Matt with Local Historia. I've been a huge fan myself for a long time as you guys started your programs and being able to see the history here. How important it is to tell those stories so that we have that local perspective on things. So tell us a little bit about your background and your passion for film.
Yeah, thanks, Stacy. This has been a pleasure being here today, so thank you everyone for joining us. Pablo and myself, Pablo Lopez here, we're a team package deal here. Okay. So really, I did the history side of that, of Graves on Indian Lane. We just watched Graves on Indian Lane, and so I did the writing for the history, the research, you know, a lot of the background stuff and some producing, but the technical side and the creative side, obviously I had tons of help with that. It wasn't me. Matt Jacobs' production did phenomenal, and it was a team effort. So, but yeah, just that story, we believed it needed to be shared and told in a powerful way. And that's what's great about film, is you can really tell a story in the best way possible with all the music and the images, the visuals, and the dialogue, and any way you can to tell that story. So we felt that the history was powerful in and of itself, but we tried to do justice to the story as well and to the accuracy of it. So yeah, it was a pleasure participating in that project. It was a challenging project. One that we're proud of, so I'll stop rambling and let Pablo talk a little bit.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Pablo. I am the film commissioner through the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. My job is to help independent filmmakers in our area make their films, as well as to bring filmmakers here to Center County, because we have a plethora of stories that we could be telling. Graves on Indian Lane is just one of them. You've seen everyone here participate in that same thing. Casey, thank you so much for putting this together. It's amazing to see how much work has been done within the county. I really believe in the story that Matt brought to us in terms of Graves on Indian Lane and how much we were able to showcase, and it was just a fantastic documentary to get to work on, so thank you for being here to watch it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, thanks so much. Okay, so now we're going to go to Corey. So Corey, do you want to give us a little bit of your background and also your passion for film?
Sure. So I am Corey Beasley. I own a video production company called Spark Pixel here locally. It's more of a video marketing company than it is a filmmaking company, but I do have a passion for the filmmaking, and so my wife and kid, we moved here during COVID. We are from the New York area. Both my wife and I worked in the city, and we're both in the film and entertainment kind of sphere, and we're being there, we were surrounded by actors, writers, producers, colorists, sound designers, composers, but out here we're not. And so I made those films, I guess kind of, I wanted to do something, but I didn't know a lot of people. This was before I knew, well, I know Pablo now. And we have a filmmaking group where we meet monthly, but for a while I didn't know a lot of people, and so, but I had to do something as a creative. I needed to do something, so I put myself on camera. I don't consider myself an actor at all, and so that's what I did, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was
You
fantastic.
did a great job.
Thanks so much. So, as you can see, we have so many different creatives, so many different backgrounds. We have people that were born and raised here. We have people that have moved here for various different reasons, but all of them are able to tell the story about this place, be able to put it on the big screen and be able to share those stories. And when you think about it, you know, we're doing this right here today, but these stories, they resonate, right? This is going to go out not only in our community here, it's going to go out into the interwebs, you know, so potentially this has the potential to, you know, reach the rest of the world. So that's the part that you have in being able to support our local creative community, is it not just impacts right here, right now, but it also is able to spread that word to the rest of the world. So we really appreciate your support. So I'll just come back to Pablo. I'll put him on the spot here just for a second as our film commissioner here. How can people continue to help support local filmmaking and our creatives?
Well, if you want to learn more about the film community here in Center County, you can visit filmhappyvalleypa.com, and that'll take you to our website, which has a plethora of information on where to get started if you yourself are a creator. You can also reach out to any one of us. We are always actively looking for projects to do and to be a part of different crews. If you'd like to be part of a crew yourself, even if you don't know how, there is an annual boot camp that does teach you the fundamentals of filmmaking here in Center County. So it is still growing, it is still metastasizing, but I think it's becoming something larger than life, and I would love for everyone to be a part of it.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. All right, so we have just a few more minutes. So if we have any questions from the audience, if you want to, after you've reflected on any of these points, you know, to share with the filmmakers and put your hands up. It's kind of hard to see because we got, let's see, there we go. Okay, so we got an individual over here. So just go ahead and yell it out for us what your question is.
I don't really have a question. My name is Tim Smith. I'm from Osceola Mills, Pearl.
Hi, Tim.
I rushed over, I'm in the honor guard, and all I wanted just to comment, I'm sorry, it's emotional. You captured my little borough, my hometown. If you don't know Osceola Mills, it's the highest per capita loss rate in World War II. But more importantly, in the film, the precious thing is there are so many pieces and things from our museum and our history in the film that are there and poignant. And I'm at a loss for words. It's a beautiful film. And I saw my place in my hometown, and you told the story so well. Thank you. I'm so grateful for everything you did for my little hometown and this whole project. So thank you. I'll shut up because men should talk too much, but thank you. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Tim, that means the world for you to say that to us. Thank you. We spent a lot of hours in the Historical Society there. We spoke to people like Tim, and we really were committed to making sure that the World War II history was honored, and that this misconception of those towns that have rising hate groups was something that we could nip in the bud. And I worked with a lot of veterans and their kids, and we worked a lot on questions of how do you stay true to your history and hold true to what you stand for. And that means the world to me that came through to you, Tim, because we were very committed to making sure that truth was the underlying piece. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So this is the impact that filmmaking can have in our communities. Okay, it looks like we got an individual right here in the middle here.
Hi, I'm an individual. I'm Michelle. Thank you so much for the wonderful films. Thank you, filmmakers. And I wonder, I was especially thinking about Lil and Pearl, what inspired you to tell Lil's story in particular. You talked about being inspired, autobiographically by what makes you jealous and that kind of thing, but specifically what Lil. But I also think, who was your Lil in the rest of the filmmakers? what was the spark, the specific stories that you each told, you know, going way back to the beginning of the stories that we saw, you know, with Corey. And so I just, you know, Corey's fun. I mean, but everybody, you all had a specific spark, so what was that?
Corey, you want to start?
Oh gosh, I always try to do things kind of based a little loosely off real life. I mean, there's not a ton going on in my films, but I mean, I try to put stuff in there. You know, with all of our various struggles, you know, I myself listen to self-help tapes and things like that, and I feel like I'm doing it all the time. But so I thought I was just filming me, you know, like a day in the life of me when I'm not with the family. And that freelancer, I mean, that's essentially me. Like, maybe not right now with my business, but when I was a freelancer in New York, I would get that kind of drop from a job like annually once a year, and it was very terrifying, you know. It should not happen, but it happened more than it should, so that's where that started.
The struggle is real.
That's so true.
Yeah, I think all of us have experienced things like that. So that really hit home for me too. Did you have an aspect of that?
Did anyone else want to talk about
Yes,
the Lil?
I did a little bit just to touch the
Get your microphone.
yeah, sorry about the mental health component. So, like growing up, I never had therapy. I had no education at all about mental health. And then being thrown out into, you know, the film industry when I was 21, I moved out and knowing nothing. I didn't even know who I was as a person. I mean, no one does really at 21 anyway. But just trying to like look into constantly, like someone has to have the answers for what good mental health looks like. And I would be scouring everywhere, and I discovered no one has the answers, right? And we also do have all the answers. They're just all like separated, right? So like everyone's like, oh, well, this is my island, and this is my island, and this is like what I am an expertise in. And they do connect, the puzzle pieces do connect if someone sat down and connected them, and so I did. So I created the thing that I felt like I needed, and I feel like anyone can benefit from. And so it was kind of like my origin story is Know Your Fundamentals, which is my brand.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
I guess, yeah. Michelle, I love your question. I think all the pieces in this lineup was really about standing in your truth and finding our history, and we may not always like some of our history, and we have to look at it closer and ask the hard questions. Like I think there are some beautiful underlying pieces to what you were working on, right? With who am I? Can I be a dad? Can I raise my kids? Can I make this work? You know, and some of us ask that on much, you know, larger historical questions. Who are we as a community? Does everyone have a place to belong? You know, and you can do it with comedy, you can do it with horror, you can do it with drama, you can do it through sports, and so on. And in my case, I think here, I actually was more connected to Manny in this writing, because I thought a lot about allowing people to scare you out of being in your space and in your home. He thought of that town as his home, and obviously he felt he didn't belong. And then you have a Lil, who, because of such grand pieces of history, felt she had to hide her identity, and they had that in common.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, in so many different identities, I think it's important, and I hope this comes through, to understand that we do see each other in our differences, and we need a lot more work on that these days, especially in our global sphere. And I hope that this is a story of hope, and to see, as Tim said, that there's a lot more support than you think for connecting even through difference. So that was my goal.
Very nice. Thank you. All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that was a great question. Just quick thanks to my wife Allie and my son Henry for coming out and go on these kind of things, and all your support to go through these projects. You know, our loved ones have to deal with the brunt of our creativity and all the time we're at my laptop and all that stuff. So thank y'all. So the inspiration, graves on Indian Lane, are really just the soldiers themselves, the graves. I think anybody who goes to a grave is wondering who these people were, but this incident was so violent and so seemed out of place. Like, as we think of, like we said in the documentary, you think of Bunker Hill, you think of, Saratoga, whatever, but in the middle of a farm field and the center in Pennsylvania, one guy was from Virginia. He had walked here from Virginia, and then that's where he's gonna be buried, and he's probably 19, 20 years old. They're private and a corporal, so they're pretty young. They would just bury them on the spot. They're not going to carry them back to wherever. So just to talk about them and just learn about them, like who were they? And it's hard. You can't find all that information. Who were the Native Americans? What were their perspectives? All these questions that we still have, but we try to investigate that as much as possible. History can be messy. It's not black and white. It's not always good guys, bad guys. It's what would you have done in that situation? Can you empathize with any of those parties? Hopefully we can, because everybody was in that moment fighting for their lives and their loved ones and their futures. So it's not always so simple. We wanted to do honor to the two soldiers as veterans and who gave the ultimate sacrifice, but also to the more complicated context of the story, of the broader context of hostilities with Native Americans and this region being involved as well in that time period. So, sorry, I'm a little nervous. I guess I'm a little tense right now, but that's the gist of, I guess, the inspiration. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. Anybody else speak on that? All right, fantastic. Okay, do we have any other questions out there? Trying to see through the light.
Yes, you can get an autograph.
All right, fantastic. Well, once again, we'd like to thank everyone. We'd like to thank all of our filmmakers that took a part in this today. So give a huge shout out to everybody.
Thank you. And I don't know if you know this yet, but Casey and Corey's organization and some of the other efforts, and this is me as a different identity, not as a filmmaker, are going to be bringing more Made in PA films at the Center Film Festival, so we hope to see you there. And this film will get shown as a special sneak peek once it's done in the fall.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you. All right, so we have, once again, we'll close out here. There is information in the lobby, so if you want to check any of the booths that are out there, any of the filmmakers' information, follow them, do all that so that we can continue to support filmmaking here in Center County. So once again, we want to thank everybody. We appreciate your time this afternoon and enjoy the rest of Arts Fest. Thank you.
Yes,